Plants, the green frontier. These are the discussions of the podcast Horticult. Its continuing mission to talk about strange new cultivars, to seek out new flowers and plant them, to boldly garden like no one has before. Hey, what's up? Thanks for listening to this episode of the podcast. For you first-time listeners, thank you for finding the Horticult. We love you. This is a podcast where plant geeks can get their freak on. We let loose on all aspects of horticulture, but we focus on water-wise conservation efforts. Thanks for coming along for the ride. So yeah, this episode I don't have Brad, so I just wanted to get in there and go straight into talking about summer gardening. And is summer a good time? Is summer not a good time? What's a good time for summer? Things we got to watch out for. Irrigation practices and such. So let's get it on. And I'm Beef Lane by myself. I was just feeling like I needed to talk about summer gardening. It's been on my mind and what we do in the summer, and it's kind of it's not a real busy time. If you're manicuring lawns, that's probably the hardest thing during the summer. If you're fruiting trees, if you have fruiting trees, then you have early fruiters like the apricots and stuff. Those are good. And then the apples are coming on and the pears are a little later. But I was thinking what we do in the summer in ornamental gardening and what the summer is good for, what it's not really good for. And it's really not the time to be planting things. Planting things or transplanting things, it's not a really good idea to do it in the summer. It's just too hot. If you're in a different climate that never really gets over 90, then I would say you're pretty safe to be transplanting. If you do in the summer transplant, make sure you have water on it immediately after planting, and a lot of it. If you can do it on a cloudy day or stormy day, it might be a little muddy, might get dirty, but it's way better for the plant that the roots don't get dried out. I mean, immediately get that thing in, covered, have it prepared beforehand, have the hole already dug, and all that good stuff, because it could really have a horrible transplant shock. And I think it's also one of the top reasons why landscape trees, the average life is only 7 years. So if we can mitigate those reasons of why they die, that transplant shock. So the heat is the one that really causes it. The fall is a better time. You can even do it in the winter if you don't have permafrost. In the spring is okay. Is okay time to plant, but not the best. Spring and summer are the two areas that I probably would stay away from planting. When a tree is in dormancy, it has no probability of it having that shock. So it's already in dormancy. So that's a pretty good time slipping into dormancy. We prune a little bit. We prune the spring bloomers, forsythia, mock orange, lilac. So all these ones that bloom early spring can be pruned now after they've finished blooming. Been pruning probably every other month, or every month I've been deadheading my mother-in-law's roses, and they just keep pushing them out. I don't prune them too hard. I just deadhead them. Try to keep it level. We should have a whole topic on how to prune roses, because I think there's a little bit of tradition involved. They're so resilient to pruning. They just grow. They're so adapted to the pruning. Roses, you can just whack them back and they'll come back harder than they were. So don't be afraid to prune your roses. I think that's a big problem people have, is they're afraid to cut things, and just cut it. It'll grow. It'll keep going. Oh, check your sprinklers. That's one thing I did. I actually revamped all my sprinklers. I did it in the spring, and now I'm doing it again. I'm actually adding on areas too, so I'm very self-conscious about my sprinklers. I really tried to eliminate the overspray into the sidewalk and the street, so I actually stopped watering my park strip, and I have plans. I figured the only way I was going to flip my strip and take out my grass on my park strip, just stop watering it and kill it, and then I have it in me to make it look better. So kill it off and see what we can do. That's one thing you could do, is check your sprinklers, do a sprinkler audit, make sure everything's going good, because in the summer, the lawn is extremely affected by our summers, because in Utah we grow cool season grass, not warm season grass. It does the best in the fall, and in the spring, the summer is its worst time. So we have to really lay on the water to keep it going. And I can see that people are trying not to water it as much because there's a lot of brown lawns out there. But that's okay. I mean, it's just slipping a little bit into dormancy. It's not going to die. The minimum amount, which for overhead spray, that's recommended for 20 minutes for a pop-up sprayer, and then for rotary, it's 40 minutes. I think they've kind of eliminated the whole hammer, spring and hammer one, where it just kind of goes chick, 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 chick. Been eliminated. If you have one of those, I don't even think, it's so inefficient that they don't even, but for regular pop-ups, it's just 20 minutes is recommended. And right now we're in a 3 irrigation cycle. So in the week, water it 3 20-minute periods. And you could stagger those back to back. Boom, 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 and do the 3. And then you only water it 1 day a week, but you water it for an hour. It just goes through and leaches down even deeper and it helps push those roots deeper. I think what's happening is with the lawns, they've been watered a certain way, and so they're used to being overwatered. And when we start cutting back the water, reacts negatively towards it's being cut back. Condition your lawn over time to grow its roots down and to be able to withstand the less watering effect. Right about now, the annuals, depends on what kind of annuals you have. They're probably really liking it if you're watering them enough. Keep those. They really should be in containers. Annuals, to have them in containers, you can control the watering a little easier. I hook my container up to my sprinkler system, so every time my sprinkler system goes off for my drip line, it gets water too. It's very easy to install those. I just kind of rigged mine up, and it works great. So this is also a really good time for installing hardscapes. Because it's so dry, putting in a patio or putting in concrete, this is an excellent time to do that, because when it's too wet or too cold, the concrete isn't able to set right. And if it rains on the concrete after you lay it, it messes up the finish. So right now is a great time to be installing hardscapes. Not a great time to be laying sod. You just got to water it a ton. I wouldn't, if you have to, do it. If you have to do it, you got to do it. This is your timetable. Get her done. If you can wait till the fall, the grass is going to be a lot healthier if you wait till the fall. A lot easier to transplant, much easier to get the roots to reestablish. I wouldn't even try to grow them from seed right now. It's just too freaking hot. We top 100 every day. We're probably averaging 100 every day right now. But we did have a nice little storm come through, so it's nice. This is another good time to be able to bring hummingbirds into your garden. I have put up a hummingbird feeder, and my kids love it. Absolutely love it. I also have planted some agastaki, also called hummingbird mint, and they love that. And then I also have some Rose of Sharon, which is a hibiscus. It's the common hibiscus, and hummingbirds will go to that too. I had taken a little forethought in this, and that's what I wanted to try to attract into my yard. So I do have some water for them. I also have my bird feeder or my hummingbird feeder, and then I have flowers that I know they appreciate and like. And it's been really fun because they're fighting over it. And it's actually harder to attract birds to your yard during the summer because of the availability of food. So in the winter, it's actually a better time to get them to your home, providing something that they don't have access to, especially after a snowstorm. All the seeds are covered. They can't really dig for it. That's the other reason why I'm kind of holding off of deadheading my flowers that produce seeds, because those are also made available to the birds. If you cut it, then you're removing that food source for the birds. Yeah, I just had I think I was just going over a list for summer bloomers. A lot of people are attracted to spring blooming flowers, and then that's all they have. Spring is a wonderful time for the colors, and they come out, and it's wonderful. And then they don't have anything. It's a good practice as a flower grower to understand when things bloom and end, and so you can have continuous blooming throughout the warm season. Rose of Sharon blooms right now. It's blooming right now in the middle of summer. I have Gara, which is blooming right now in the middle of summer. Agastaki, middle of summer. Salvia, it was kind of an earlier one, but it's still going. It's been great. I think I have one of the more colorful yards in my neighborhood, which is, it's not real hard. The other people that I have color right now are just with annuals. There are some people that are growing the white hydrangeas, which look great. I think they were the oak leaf hydrangeas. It wasn't like a circular, the flowers were more of a cone looking shape with all the little mini flowers and stuff. So I guess those ones do good here. I'd have to ask Cameron Alcott to make sure. So those are blooming right now. And I think they're evergreen also, so they don't drop their leaves in the... That's kind of a cool one. Not a whole lot of trees blooming right now because they need to grow their fruit, so they always have them early in the spring, and as the season goes, they produce their fruit, so they lose their flowers. My lavender, he's kind of a early summer, late spring, early summer. And then the daylilies, if you can grow your daylilies, they're kind of more of a early summer, maybe late spring. And if you wait for them to get done, you cut them, they'll just spring back up. If they're being treated good enough, they can handle that. If you're stressing out your daylilies a little bit, they might not like that very much. But I've seen daylilies just keep going, cut them all the way down after they've bloomed, grow their leaves again, beautiful little balls of green, and then they shoot out more flowers. So that's a really cool trick to keep them blooming all summer. The Rudbeckia is a great one. That's Black-Eyed Susan. Right now they're really blooming hard. I take care of my cousin's house, and right next door they have basically all they have is a Rudbeckia, and it just looks great. Looks fabulous. Did a really good job with that one. And I was thinking about some replacement shrubs. So in my front yard, they are Sistina plums, and they are on the east side of my house, so not terribly hot, but they are getting fried. So I was thinking about some really good replacement shrubs that I could place in there. They kind of have the same texture, maybe a little different colors. But I love smokebush. I love the nine barks. There's a lot of different colors of nine barks. I was thinking maybe I can introduce a serviceberry. I could get some berries. That would be kind of cool. There's the black lace elderberry. Those berries, you would have to treat them, boil them. There's some toxins inside, so it's almost like you got to can it or get it ready, boil it out, and you can eat them then. With the elderberries, black lace elderberries. So there's also the currants. There's a lot of different kind of currants. That's more for like bird food. They have these little berries. I was thinking for the bees, if I wanted pollinators, you could do Russian sage. Is kind of, I feel like it's kind of a little out of control sometimes. But dang it, they bloom so good. They're hard to kill. That you can cut them back and cut them back and cut them back, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing. So I have a hard time saying it's a bad shrub, but it produces flowers, it attracts pollinators, and you can't kill it. And it can handle super dry tolerances. So, man, that's probably one that I would put out in my park strip, keep the bees away from me a little bit. And then I had some like really dry ones that you can look into. Fern bush is super mega dry. Pretty attractive foliage. It's a bunch of little leaves. I think the botanical name has millifolia in it, so it's like millions of leaves. So it's a pretty cool little plant. Apache plume is an awesome one, and that can be trained to not be just the globular mess. And it has attractive flower seeds. Sure, the birds would like them. New Mexican privet is just a very dry tolerant shrub. It just looks like a regular privet, and it can just handle super, super dry tolerances. And then the pea shrub. Pea shrub is really cool. It has some neat flowers, has some little fun seed pods, but I didn't appreciate it because it has thorns, and it really kicked the crap out of my hands when I'd have to prune them. So it did have an attractive enough habit, kind of almost like a little mushroom thing going on, that you might not even have to prune it. It's very upright. It doesn't spread out. It kind of just goes up. So at least the variety that I was familiar with. You know, there's still some stuff we could do in the summer. I wish Brad was here. We'll have him next week, I promise. And that's it. Go get it. Later.